Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Rip right field towards the corner.
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Floyd Mayweather says he won more than $800,000 betting on sports this weekend. Tony, how'd your weekend compare?
Tony Kornheiser, I netted $75 by getting a couple of little leaguers to tank a game.
No, you have more respect for Little League than that.
No, actually I don't. I got one of them a wild pitch 3 straight times with runners on.
For what?
They tanked. By the way, Floyd Mayweather says this every week.
Every week? I don't believe a word he said.
Another $1 million betting.
A word he said.
At some point, doesn't he ever lose? You think he'd have to lose once in a while? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Clippers gag, the Marlins GM makes himself the manager, and a super horse inspires the entire nation. But we begin today with the most surprising team in the NBA's Final Four, the Houston Rockets. They were down 3-1 to the Clippers and rallied for 3 wins in a row, including yesterday's 13-point win. Wilbon, at various points in this series, you proclaim the Rockets dogs.
Dead.
Please explain how they won and why they won.
Tony, a lot of reasons, but I'm going to start with Kevin McHale, the man you see right there. I think anytime you're down 3-1.
I see me.
Kevin McHale was up there. Tony, anytime you are down like that and you have to rally your players and get sometimes some mercurial guys, get a MVP runner-up who wanted to be MVP and appeared to be pouting, you have to rally them. Yeah. Kevin McHale did that, and then there were strategic things he did. You look at how he used Josh Smith, how he decided in the fourth quarter of the pivotal Game 6 to keep his star, his MVP runner-up, if you will, on the bench once the subs had rallied. All sorts of things. Kevin McHale's fingerprints were all over this comeback as much as any of the players because he set them up to do it.
You know, I'm okay with that explanation. Kevin McHale, I think, is the only coach left in it who actually won a championship as a player. So he obviously knows how to win. He knows how to rally troops around. They've got a nice squad. I mean, James Harden's a great player. Dwight Howard, when he's really good, is really good. Trevor Ariza is a fine all-around player. The elephant in the room, though, Mike, is that the Clippers gagged. I mean, they just gagged it up. They were up 3-1. They were up 19 points in a game at home, and they lost it like with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they just gagged it up. And they allowed, I mean, was Harden any better in this series than he was during the regular season? I mean, you know, the Rockets played like the Rockets played, right?
Yeah, he wasn't a couple of, no, Tom. Because one of the things that Harden did once Kevin McHale kept his butt on that bench, when he came in the game yesterday from the start, he looked for teammates. This was not just isolation basketball.
Didn't he just go to the line 20 times?
To me,
wasn't he looking for himself?
Tony, no. He's going to get to the line. That's part of what they and he have to do.
Right.
But he also, Trevor Ariza had 6 threes yesterday.
Yeah.
And probably all of them came off of real good setups in the lane and, pitching out, inside-out basketball by the Rockets and Harden.
The Rockets are good. The Rockets are good.
Tony, they had to. We know the Clippers choked.
Beat the Spurs, and they should have beaten the Rockets.
We're getting to that. You asked me how the Rockets won.
Sure.
Now, if we praise the Rockets, we have to necessarily bury the Clippers, right?
Yes.
When I left that locker room, the Clipper locker room last night, the Clippers, were still lamenting blowing that 19-point lead in Game 6 you already referred to, and very much blaming themselves for just the 9th lost 3-1 lead in league history. There was talk of panicking late in the series and what in the world to do next. So, and how much of this collapse is on Coach Doc Rivers, and how much do you put on the players?
Well, there's more than enough to go around. I just want to give you 2 statistics that I think are relevant that would chill the spines of every Clippers fan, except maybe Steve Ballmer, who'll be on the courtside in Game 1 shrieking like a banshee, like he does all the time. The first statistic is about Doc Rivers. He's the only coach in the history of the NBA to coach 2 different teams to blow 3-1 leads. That's bad. The second one is about Chris Paul. Of all the active players in the NBA, Chris Paul has been in more playoff games, and the count now is 65, and not gone to a conference final. And there's only 2 retired guys who retired like over 20 years ago that have more than that. And if you're a Clippers fan, you go, whoa, I didn't know that. That's bad.
Tony, I don't pay any attention to that. I'm looking at the Clippers now, and the Clippers have a history. They're like the Cubs. I follow a team like that. But, there's also another stat out there that says Steve Nash is the only MVP, at least up through the time he was MVP, who never made the finals. You don't say Steve Nash, not a great player? No, you wouldn't say that. Chris Paul played yesterday, Tony. He played, but there's enough blame to go around. You're right about that. I'm not blaming Doc Rivers, the coach. I'm blaming Doc Rivers, the GM, to an extent, because that bench is one that not only did not get better since last year, it got worse, and they just didn't have enough there. The other thing, Tony, Chris Paul, who once again played yesterday, he played. They need more. That team is not as good as the Rockets head for head. If you go in and look at matchups, you look at the bench, he's played, Chris Paul, with one real all-star in two franchises, Blake Griffin. And I'm not going to argue with you that Blake Griffin is not a flawed player. He's an all-star, but a flawed player, Tony. He had no game. He got neutralized largely yesterday by Jay Smooth. How you like that in your game set?
It's a flawed team, Mike. I mean, they're going to, like you hear all year long that Chris Paul and Blake Griffin don't like each other. Now it is being reported that DeAndre Jordan can't stand Chris Paul either. They bring everybody back. They pay everybody max money. You have to ask yourself at some point, why do you think we're going to win with this squad that never wins, with a franchise?
Now you're talking.
And, so then you have to make moves here. You cannot come back with these people.
By the way, Tony, yesterday, Doc Rivers said, I'm going to go out and tamper. If you can tamper with the player you already have on your roster, I'm going to go out and tamper right now with DeAndre Jordan. Would you bring DeAndre Jordan back? He's a massive defensive presence. You think you pay him max money and keep him?
Mike,
would you go another way and blow it up?
They are to the NBA what the Washington Capitals are to the NHL. The results are always the same, and they don't get to where their talent says they should get. So get rid of the talent. Change the talent. We're down to the elite now. Golden State, Houston, Cleveland, and Atlanta. They are the two number 1 seeds and the two number 2 seeds. So we've got straight chalk, homie, out there. Wilbon, of these 4 teams, which one should be the favorite?
So here's how I would rank them today. Before, on the eve of the Western Conference Series beginning out here in Northern California tomorrow, I would say Golden State, Cleveland would be my number 2 team, Houston, and Atlanta. I'm not going to say the Rockets can't beat Golden State. I do see Golden State winning the series, but that's how I would rank them. And LeBron James, maybe I should be ranking them 1, because whoever's playing with LeBron James seems to have an advantage. LeBron James is the guy out there in the absence of San Antonio, and there's no Miami, and then, Kobe and the Lakers are long gone.
Right.
He's the established star of the playoffs, and everybody's trying to get what LeBron has.
I'm going to go back a little bit in time to some months ago on the day that the Cleveland Cavaliers signed Kevin Love. And I said on this very program, they are going to win the NBA championship. And you said to me at that time,
they wouldn't.
You're crazy. They'll be lucky to be in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yep,
and you said it's because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love have never played in playoff games. And I said to you, but the other guy has. The other guy has, and he'll lead them through it. And I would love to sit here now and say they are the best team and they're going to win. But Kevin Love no longer plays, and Kyrie Irving may or may not have 2 feet. May or may not. We don't know at the moment. So what I look at now...
One usable leg at this point.
I look at Golden State as a team that's been number 1 all season, and I think, unlike all the other teams, that if they play to their best, if they shoot to their best, nobody beats them. They are better than everybody else.
Let me ask you something. You and I lived and covered the NBA a lot in the 90s.
Yeah.
Wasn't it this kind of Houston team that had scary talent and was never quite there until they were there? Does this Houston team remind you of those Houston teams that actually won back-to-back championships?
This Houston team is the team that less than a week ago you said were dogs. Dogs.
Hey, by the way, don't you remember people painting those Akeem Olajuwon teams as that too, and they still won?
All right, let's get down to brass tacks here. Are you then picking them to beat Golden State? Because I'm not.
No, but I think they're scary good
Thank you. End of question. End of question.
So this just in, Robert Kraft believes Tom Brady. I know this must come as shocking news. I'm sure somebody's calling it breaking news. Kraft told Peter King the same thing he told reporters in January, that he asked Tom Brady if he cheated. Brady said no, and Kraft believes Brady, who after 16 years of employment is like his son. So tell me one reason people should put any stock in Kraft's assertions.
The only reason is because maybe it's true. I mean, we don't have any hard evidence that says specifically that Tom Brady either doctored the footballs by himself or ordered the footballs to be doctored. I understand why Robert Kraft would say this.
Of course.
I mean, he wanted to believe Aaron Hernandez when Aaron Hernandez told him he didn't kill Odin Lloyd. I mean, I get all of that, but what we have essentially is, in the Ted Welch report, probability. We have probability. Now, I understand your cynicism. Is everybody cynical? Me too. Everybody's sort of cynical because it begins to smell like Lance Armstrong. It does, but maybe it's true what Brady said.
Tony, I'm not even going to be that cynical about this. I think this is the position Robert Kraft ought to take. I'm just saying, why should anybody care? I mean, it's a guy saying, I believe my employee.
Right.
I believe my boy. I believe a guy who has delivered, I'm sorry, I lost count. How many Super Bowl rings?
I believe it's 4.
Okay, so he has delivered all these Super Bowls to me and mine. I believe him. This is what? I mean, this is a leap of faith?
Well, I will say this, that if Tom Brady is doubling down with a lie, if you want to take that position,
I'm not going to take that.
Lying to Robert Kraft would be much worse for him personally than lying to the league. I mean, that
why? He's already got the rings. He's already got the money. He's already got the glory.
It splits a relationship. It just rips it asunder. It's a very bad idea. You know, there's an owners meeting, I believe, starts tomorrow.
Here.
You know, right here in San Francisco. So that means that Robert Kraft and all the other owners are going to be in a room with Roger Goodell. You think there might be some tension in that room? I mean, you think that might be uncomfortable for people?
You know, you could cut it with a knife like the fog. Yeah.
I would think so. The Miami Marlins started out this season 16-22. And that wasn't enough to keep their manager, Mike Redmond, employed. Today, the Marlins turned to their GM, Dan Jennings, and told him to suit up. The last time Jennings managed a baseball team was in the mid-1980s when he managed a high school team in Mobile, Alabama. Wilbon, how did the Marlins look by hiring their GM as their M?
Tony, right now, on the front end, you know, they look amateurish. They look like what? I mean, you know, they look like they have no clue. And the Marlins have either, I don't know, won a World Series or looked clueless. They seem to operate between the on the extremes.
They won 2.
I said World Series.
Yeah.
They operate on the extremes, Tony. But you know what? People have done this in other sports, most notably basketball. I bet they've done it in the NHL too. I know they've done it in basketball. When Greg Popovich, didn't he go about it this way? So they look amateurish now, but suppose he gets on the field and wins. Suppose he leads them somewhere. It looks crazy now, but it doesn't have to on the back end.
Well, this would be my point, Dad. I mean, I know what managing a baseball team is. It's not discovering a rocket ship to take you to Mars. It's really not that hard. Probably nobody knows more about that roster than the GM. Even more probably than a manager, all up and down, all the guys in the major leagues now and in the minor leagues. I just want to read a couple of quotes by Jeffrey Loria, the owner, who, by the way, is now paying 3 managers. He's still paying Ozzie Guillen, who nobody has seen in years. He's going to pay this guy Redmond through 2017.
He's got the money.
And now he's paying.
You don't have to hold the auction for him.
Here's a
quote.
Got
the money.
We're supposed to be the fish, the marlins. We're not supposed to be the flounder. A marlin isn't a flounder. I sort of like that. And of making this move to the GM, our GM is now the manager. We just dropped the general. I mean, these are pretty lively quotes by the owner, don't you think?
I don't know what any of that means. If the Marlins are worth paying attention to come August and they somehow start winning, we'll be slurping this guy and Lord.
Giancarlo Stanton signed a bazillion-dollar contract.
Well,
he's in his 6th season. This is his 8th manager.
So it's called selling out. It's okay if if you sell out at the right price.
Let's take a break, but coming up is American Pharaoh, just a successful racehorse, or more likely a panacea for a nation with a wounded soul.
Please, they should not pay attention. And how much credit does Paul Pierce deserve for his buzzer beater, Tone? Well, it didn't beat the buzzer.
It didn't. It should have.
Another crushing loss to the nation's capital.
I don't know, a certain dignity to that one, don't you?
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
We learned this morning that the intern can figure out Wilbon's Amazon password.
I don't have an Amazon password.
Let's see if he can find 4 good issues for mail time. You do now, apparently.
I don't do Amazon. I don't shop online.
Does Paul Pierce get to put that too late 3 on his clutch highlight reel?
Tony, he could. But he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. He's got too many others. Look, when he made that shot, it hadn't even dawned on me that the ball might have been touching his fingertips when the clock goes all zeros. This is a scream out loud moment. It's going to overtime. That's why they brought me here. Series, all of it. Paul Pierce was great in this postseason for as long as the Wizards are in it. He doesn't want to count it, though. He's got too many others to count it.
That shot is as dramatic a moment as anybody in that arena has ever seen.
Yeah.
And Paul Pierce has done everything that the Wizards hoped he would do when they brought him here. And
is he leaving? Is this it?
I think he'll retire. I think because his position will be taken by Otto Porter next year. He doesn't want to come off the bench. I think he walks out in a legendary moment, Mike.
Kind of so. I agree.
I think he walks.
I agree with you. Man.
By the way he won the Preakness, you have to believe that American Pharaoh will win the Triple Crown, right?
Stop it. You ask me this every single year. How many years have you been doing PTI now? 14 years? 14 times you asked me this on this silly Monday in May after the Preakness. Not 14, because you haven't had a two-time winner 14 times. Probably 10 times you asked me this question. You get all slurpy. No, the horse isn't going to win. By the way, what a sloppy, awful race. It was terrible. As a viewer, I thought it was awful.
I thought it was great to watch. I was very surprised they ran at 8 in the race. They should have waited just 10 minutes. They had on the radar the storm was coming. The storm blew through. Look, we never get a Triple Crown winner in over 30 years. Eventually, we're going to get one. This horse may be the one because this was the 2-year-old champion. And if you look at the history of the Triple Crown winners, 2-year-old champions win the Triple Crown.
Especially when there's only 2 other horses in the Belmont, which seems what it'll be. 2, 3 horses, you think?
At least 10.
Yeah. Right.
How should the rest of the field feel about Rory McIlroy saying the back nine on Sunday was, quote, boring?
Well, they should be nodding in agreement. This wasn't exactly the U.S. Open. It's not supposed to be, Tony. I get that. But, I mean, come on. Guys are firing at flags like this. I mean, the scores were unbelievably low. Rory was upset because he didn't shoot a 59 on Saturday. I mean, this golf course was there for the taking. Rory took it, but they had to be nodding in agreement with him. It was boring.
Rory McIlroy is by far the #1 player in the world right now. I'm going to give you his last year, Mike. He played 24 tournaments. He won 7, including 2 majors, which we like to call Tigerland in the past. In those 24, he had 20 top 20s, 16 top 10s, and 13 top 5s. Are you kidding me? He doesn't have any rival right now. Tell me about
yet.
Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler.
He's got to go away.
I don't want to hear it.
He's got to go away. He's yawning his way through the competition.
Does this ball boy deserve ridicule or praise?
Well, Tony, this ball boy takes a tumble. Where's the tour now? In Rome? Maria Sharapova's here on the changeover. Whoa, he steps in like a flower pot or two. Can't be the first guy when looking at Maria Sharapova to have an accident. I think I ran a car into some cars some years ago when Maria Sharapova was crossing the street. This is normal reaction for, normal reaction for an adolescent boy or a grown man or a grandpa. This is normal.
What I really like is that Sharapova doesn't even look at him. Look, there's nothing funnier than a man taking a pratfall. That's how Dick Van Dyke built his entire career. Every week he fell over that little ottoman all the time.
That's right.
But Maria Sharapova,
and that was just for Lauren Petrie. That wasn't for Maria Sharapova.
These are first world problems, whether the guy can get the umbrella over your head fast enough. First world, leave me alone, 1%ers. Enough email. Let's take one last break. But still to come, your boy Vlad Putin scores 8 goals against former NHL stars. Is he a game-changing, undiscovered talent?
And the Dolphins, another fish team, allegedly give Ryan Tannehill a huge deal. We're going to break that down. Tony, Sharapova or Laura Petrie?
Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. This season, the Mets have been a tale of 2 teams. One of the league's best at home and one of the worst on the road.
Towards the corner.
This weekend, they'll be at home at Citi Field facing the Marlins. Will their home field domination continue, or will Giancarlo Stanton lead Miami to a road win? The Mets and Marlins. The pregames at 3:30 Eastern, followed by the first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app.
Happy time, people. Happy 55th birthday, Yannick Noah. Let's look at the length and breadth of a life. Yannick Noah was a great tennis player who won a major, his hometown major, the French Open. He married a beautiful model, and his son Joachim is an NBA All-Star. So on the scale of lives, this is close to a 10. Wilbon, who is more famous, Yannick or Joakim Noah?
So it's hard. That's a good question because they're both international sports. I saw Yannick in Chicago a couple weeks and had a chat with him. He's still a lordly figure, man. He's still a cool-looking guy, good guy. I mean, it's great to see him.
Happy anniversary, Magic Johnson. On this day 28 years ago, you became the first guard in 23 years to win the NBA MVP. Magic, of course, is forever linked to the Lakers. And what a nice moment he had yesterday, being able to exult in the massive failure of the co-tenant Clippers, tweeting, quote, "The Clippers are still the Clippers," unquote.
Tony, you know that dynamic in L.A. It's still in Laker town, and a lot of people there are happy that the Clippers are miserable.
A melancholy happy trails to Garo Yepremian, one of the unlikeliest of NFL players, even as a kicker. Yepremian passed away on Friday at age 70. He came to America from Cyprus, where he was a tie maker. He was a great kicker for the Miami Dolphins, but the two highlights of his career were this preposterous attempt to throw a pass in Super Bowl VII against the Redskins, and the great line attached to him, his exclamation, quote, "I kick a touchdown," unquote.
Yeah, I kick a touchdown, not as good as I called game. But, Tony, he's a recognizable guy, one of the most recognizable kickers in the history of the NFL.
Great kicker for the Dolphins. One you, Jared Wilbon, you said in the last 14 years, 10 horses have won the first two legs of the Triple Crown.
How many?
Actually, just 7.
Close enough.
And we go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
The Ducks crushed your Blackhawks in Game 1, 4-1. What is your level of concern?
An 8, Tony. They can't afford to go down 2-0 before coming back to Chicago. Odell Beckham Jr. says that due to a short career and lasting injuries, NFL players should get paid more. You agree?
Of course he says that he's an NFL player. I'm with him. Sure, why not? The Dolphins reportedly signed Ryan Tannehill to a 6-year, $96 million contract extension. Is he worth that much?
As always, those numbers are bogus. It's a 1-year deal, $20 million guaranteed. That's all you get in the NFL, 1 year. Vladimir Putin scored 8 goals in an exhibition hockey game in Sochi. He's a major talent, isn't he, Tom?
Who's going to cross-check him? Who? Nobody. Last one, Corey Kluber pitches for the first time since his 18 strikeout game. Over under 10 tonight, Mike.
White Sox put the ball in play, Tony. I'm still going to say 8 strikeouts for Kluber.
So you're under. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes.
Good night, Canada.
PTI.